What is
Yeah.
depression? What do you mean you're
Yeah.
depressed?
Mm.
Physically exhausted, emotionally exhausted. In that moment, I kind of zoned out. I had not slept in like 2 days. I was constantly worried, constantly sad.
They are called suicidal fantasies.
Oh, you're mad, go
Yeah.
to Butabika. Oh, this person
Yeah.
went mad, go to Butabika. Like,
Yeah.
but what is that would make you commit suicide? What kind of problems are those? Actually, before even the postpartum depression, I
Mm.
think I had prenatal depression.
Mm.
You do not realize the magnitude of pregnancy until you are pregnant. But then when the pregnancy came, it came with so many changes. Like, and
Yeah.
then everyone was putting me on pressure about having like breastfeeding the child. I spent the night seated because I thought I was holding the baby. And yet I wasn't. Mostly on edge, majority of the time. Like if I was left alone with the child, oh my God, what am I going to do? If I didn't have milk, oh my God. If the formula was almost done, oh my God, like everything.
And postpartum anxiety is also less famous than postpartum depression. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sissy if you're new here, and my name is still Sissy. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. Today I have a very special guest. Her name is Joanna, and I have lots of guests on my videos, but these are my favorite kind. I'm sorry, previous guests, but my favorite guests are people sharing their mental health experiences. I started a series and I am doing this kind of videos. So if you happen to be interested in sharing your story, please do get in touch by sending me a DM over on Instagram. And so for today's video, Joanna is going to share her experience with mental health in general, what she went through, what was helpful to her. And thank you so much for coming. And yeah, I said the first question would be to tell us about yourself. I'm sorry, I forgot to prep you and and tell you about that one. Just tell us about yourself. I know you're a mom,
Yeah.
everything.
Okay. Thanks, Doc. I like to call you Doc. I hope that's
I
okay.
know. It's okay with me, but I do like to be called Sissy as well.
Okay. Okay. I feel like you people studied too many books to be addressed by your names
I know.
without the
Well, not
title.
really. I know, but I think when I moved to the UK, that thing is not so much. Like we call each other by
Mm,
first names, and now I even find it weird to call other people Doctor so and so.
Dr. So and
Yeah,
so.
like it's not my name. My name is not Dr. Sissy. My name is Sissy.
And you're a
Um,
Ugandan medical doctor in the UK.
yes, my intro. I'm a medical doctor in the UK. Or in case you don't know me from before, I'm a psychiatrist. So I'm a
Yeah.
medical doctor who's specializing in the disorders of the mind. I'm super passionate about mental health, obviously. I'm also passionate about talking therapy because I also had my own therapy. I've done videos on my channel about my own experiences, and I'm really looking forward to hearing Joanna's experience here because I know you learn something. Because I feel like for me, I do a lot of theory because
Mm,
I am like as a doctor, I have a lot of theory from different people's experiences, but it's not the same as when you're living it or how you've lived it. And I also wanted to raise that it's not the same for everyone. People have different experiences. So Joanna is sharing her experience. Yeah, so yes, again, let us know about yourself.
okay. My name is Joanna. If you follow me on Instagram, yeah. If you don't, my name is Joanna. I'm a mom of one, an amazing, handsome little boy. I'm a wife. I'm a daughter, sister, employee, employer. Yeah, and I am happy to be here. Yeah,
Mm. By the way, in Uganda, everyone is an employer, I think. Well, not everyone, but most people are employers. At least by having a
that's
maid, you're
true.
employing someone. Some of us are not. I'm not an employer. I hope to be an employer one day, but nah, I'm
Yeah,
an employee.
not now.
Yeah. So I thought you'd start by telling us about your experience of
Mm.
mental health. Well, your experience with mental health, but for starters, before you had anything maybe wrong, what was your
Mhm.
understanding of mental health? Like growing up, did you hear anything about it?
Definitely growing up, not at all.
At
The only
all.
thing,
Nothing.
the only thing that was connected to, I don't even want to say connected to mental health, but like mental things was madness and
Yeah,
butabika. Yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, like that was all we knew about anything to do
Mm,
with the mind and the brain and
Yeah, well,
yeah, like
schizophrenia.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Like that was all we knew. Oh, you're mad, go
yeah,
to Butavika. Oh, this person
yeah,
ran mad, go to Butavika. Like
yeah,
that was all we knew. And
yeah.
then I think during the pandemic, that's when the talk about mental health started.
Mm,
And then I would like to say that my there was an employer I had from 2018, around 2018, 2019, and I remember I think it was 2019 where they were like, oh, burnout. They were talking about burnout, like those things where an employer is like, oh, be careful about burnout. But to me, I was just like, what is burnout? Like it just
yes,
seemed far-fetched. So it was one of
yes,
those things of okay, moving on swiftly.
yes.
um and it was not really brought out in the aspect of mental health. It was really just they were just telling us to be on the lookout for
Be on the
burnout.
lookout for burnout.
Yeah, yeah. And then during the pandemic, that's when like people now started to actively talk about mental health. And I remember so many people around me would be like, but what is that would make you commit suicide? What kind of problems are those that
Mm,
you will say you're depressed? What is
yeah,
depression? What do you mean you're
yeah,
depressed? So there was that kind of stigma around
yes,
depression, a stigma around suicide. Like everyone, like people would be like, what, like you're not the first to have problems.
yes.
Yeah, like so many people have problems and they're living with it, and you're not that special.
Mm,
Yeah, so for me, up until like I don't know, a few years ago, that was kind of the
impression that you have
impression
about.
I had about mental health. Like even if you feel depressed, like until people started talking about what depression was really like, it was hard to like it just felt like moekoza, or you're not the
Mm,
first. Like there was a certain stigma around it, in that even if
yeah,
you thought you were depressed, you would not really be able to pinpoint that you are, because
no,
everyone else is people are saying they are going through a lot worse. And
yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, you're not the first to
And
have problems.
we're going to hear your actual experience later on, but I wanted to just mention that Africans, Ugandans, but Africans in general, also people from like Southeast Asia, a lot of us, even our depression is different because we won't even have low mood. It's hard to say, oh, you're down. Some people will not even have that and they'll still be depressed because it can look like so many things. I think it's because the stigma is so internalized. You
Yes.
don't even realize that you're low in mood, or even you don't feel low in mood, or even you don't even have the emotional intelligence to know what are your emotions. What am I feeling? Is this sadness? Is this anxiety? What is even anxiety? Anxiety is one of my favorite because we have a lot of anxiety in our society, but people don't call it anxiety. Usually it's worrying, worrying.
Yeah.
And, mm. So anyway, yeah. So then you're giving us a background of what you knew about mental health, depression. And so for you in your own personal life, when was the first time that
Mhm.
you felt like you were a bit depressed? I know from because I follow you, you mentioned that you thought you had postpartum depression with after
Yeah.
having your child. So
Yeah.
I know that wasn't that topic, but I think it's related. Maybe can you tell us
Yes.
about that time? Yeah.
Okay. Actually, before even the postpartum depression, I
Mm,
think I had prenatal depression.
mm,
Because at the time when I got pregnant, I would like to say I thought I was ready, but
mm,
you do not realize the magnitude of pregnancy until you are pregnant. So for me, I just kept saying, "Oh, I'm ready to have a child this year." But then when the pregnancy came, it came with so many changes. Like there was so like I used to hear about morning sickness. I used to hear about all these signs and symptoms, the nausea and whatnot, but like I had never experienced it to that magnitude. I lost a lot of weight. I didn't like how I looked.
mm,
I
mm,
was just unhappy about like
mm,
everything I was going through in that first
mm,
trimester. I was constantly tired and I want to be on my feet a lot. So I like just hated how I was feeling, and that in turn made me dislike. So I actually took some time off WhatsApp because on WhatsApp, I used to see other people living their lives normally. Someone will go out and eat
Mm,
whatever it is they want to eat. And yet
yeah.
for me, I was having such a hard time eating. I was having such, like, I was not, it's not that I was throwing up, but like just that feeling of needing to throw up. And I
It's
just
even
can't.
worse
Like, it was just,
because when you throw up,
exactly.
you're relieved.
Exactly. I didn't have relief. Like I could barely
Mm,
eat anything.
mm,
Things most of the meals we have in Uganda are
mm,
cooked with onions, but anything that was cooked with onions would just put me off. So I was barely eating. And I remember exiting WhatsApp for some time and I didn't get back on until I gave birth. So it was mostly because of the first trimester, but then after the first trimester, it just felt like, okay, I can do without WhatsApp.
mm,
I was mostly on Instagram and I was mostly a consumer at the time.
yeah.
And at least with Instagram, you're not constantly responding to people's messages. Like I was just
You
on
didn't
the
have the
other
capacity
side.
for all that.
Yes,
You were like
exactly.
sort of burnt out
Exactly.
from the
Yeah.
social like
Social
interactions.
interactions, yes, yes.
Mm,
And then now fast forward to after I gave birth. Now when I gave birth, I was having issues with breast milk. Um Also birth my birthing process was not the
yeah,
smoothest.
yeah,
So like all that combined, and
yeah.
then everyone was putting me on pressure about having like breastfeeding the child, and I just felt like, guys, what do you want? Like I'm
Mm,
trying, and then the pain, and then
yeah.
like it was just endless. I was having hallucinations. I was,
Were you auditory? Were
yes,
you hearing the baby crying everywhere?
no, but I remember there was a night I spent the night seated because I thought I was holding the baby, and yet I wasn't. So I like for me, according to what I was seeing myself holding the baby, but I was not. He was with my mom.
Mm,
And like it went on for some time, even after like now the breast milk had sort of started coming in. I had this stigma about formula.
mm,
So there was also that like the mom guilt. Oh my God, my child, I'm
mm,
giving him formula. Like it was a whole thing. And then you'd go
yeah.
to visit people and they're like, oh, you guys stop breastfeeding. Oh, they would make it seem like you, the mom, you just don't want to breastfeed. You want to
Yes.
live your life.
Yes.
And like I was just so tired of explaining to people. I was like, it was just exhausting to have to repeat myself over and over again. And then, not to mention, I had lost a lot of weight. And then people used to also say that it was something about me not wanting to eat, just so I can snap back. And like I was eating like a thief during that time. So I
Mm,
would keep telling people, but you guys, I'm eating, but the weight is not like it's not. I hated how I looked. And then there's a way breastfeeding boobs are just there.
something
So it
else.
was
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
so on my
Especially the
tiny
first
body,
time,
like
it
that.
was so
Yes,
shocking.
it was. Oh my God, it was too much. Like it was just too much. And then people, I remember my mom once telling me, "Oh, you know now you should avoid wearing certain clothes," and that I was so triggered. I was like, even when people thought they were helping,
Mm,
they were just not helping. And then even I was excited about going back to work. It took me a while to bond with my child. So that also added to
mm,
the mom guilt. Like it was one thing after the other. And then like even when I went back to work, it felt like such a relief. Like, okay, finally I'm out of the house. The baby is with someone else. My baby didn't have colic, but like it just felt like they needed so much from me. And then people would keep saying, but at least your baby doesn't have colic. Oh, you're very lucky. And I would just be like, you guys, I wish you knew.
yeah.
Yeah, so it was a bunch of things. And I was constantly worried. I was constantly sad. Um, Mostly on edge majority of the time. Like I didn't
The
get to
time,
enjoy
the
the
experience.
first yes, the first couple of months because I was worried
Mm,
about the next thing. I
mm,
was worried about
exactly.
being left alone. Yes, yes. I was
Mm,
always worried about something. Like
yeah.
if I was left alone with the child, oh my God, what am I going to do? If I didn't have milk, oh my God. If the formula was almost done, oh my God, like everything. I was just on edge about
On
it
edge
or
all the
everything.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that went on for like the entire. it was more severe within, the first like 5 months, but I didn't feel like myself again until my baby made a year. Actually, after a year, maybe a year and a half.
Yeah,
So like I was in that state of worry and anxiety for some time, but as a child kept growing, and as I kept getting more and more aware of and educated about what to expect, and as I kept managing my
yeah,
expectations, then like the
yeah.
anxiety about things kind of um reduced.
Calm
And I
down, yeah.
yeah, but like it definitely went on past the 1 year mark for
Yeah,
that. Yes, for that time.
yes.
So yeah, but
So I
I was
think,
never diagnosed, so
yeah.
I
So
it was a self-diagnosis.
but that also counts. I believe in that as well, because you know yourself better and you knew that you are not okay. I think it's important what you've mentioned about, first of all, the prenatal or what we call antenatal depression. It
Mhm.
happens. It's just not as famous as postpartum depression, but it's also
Yeah.
there. And having antenatal depression is increases your risk of having postpartum as well. And I think the expectation and reality is also something I struggled with as well when I had my first child, especially coming from Uganda. And in the Ugandan culture, I feel like you don't hear a lot about any negatives of childbirth. You hear about labor and how it hurts and all, but then you don't hear about after. It looks like it's like you go and live happily after with your baby. So
Mm.
the pain, the breastfeeding challenges, all that. And then also I feel like in Uganda we overemphasize breastfeeding, which I myself am pro breastfeeding. I
Mhm.
encourage breastfeeding, but also the pressure is too much that like it's excessive. While here in
Yes.
the UK, it's very balanced and even a bit under. It's like breastfeeding is almost is almost being discouraged to a certain
Mm.
extent because we are so much pro um formula as well. So it's
Yeah.
a balance. But I think that adds even more pressure onto the moms.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, yeah. And so also another thing is that the you know how you mentioned you took a while to feel yourself. That is
Hmm.
normal. It takes a while to feel like yourself again.
Yeah.
And I worked in perinatal psychiatry and we would have moms up to 1 year. But that's because we had funding for only 1 year. But in other parts of the country, it's up to 2 years. So the postpartum period being considered that if you have depression up to the first 2 years, is still postpartum,
Hmm.
it's related to pregnancy and birth. Because the experience of pregnancy, like you've explained it, is traumatic.
Yes.
It's traumatic.
Definitely,
Mm.
1000%.
It's traumatic. So it does so much to your body. It changes your
Mm.
brain in so many ways. One of the ways is that there is a part of the brain, which is the amygdala, which senses danger. In pregnancy, it enlarges. It becomes bigger. So that's going to make you more prone to anxiety because your brain is now sensing danger to protect your baby. And so you start worrying, which worrying also means anxiety.
Mm.
And postpartum anxiety is also less famous than postpartum depression. But in my own opinion, I think it's more common, especially in us who don't feel, oh, our mood is low, but we know about how to worry about the baby and worrying about the bottles, and the bottles clean, worrying
Yeah.
about germs. Like
Yeah.
some extent of it is normal, but there's a point where it's too much.
Mm.
So for you, in the end, it kind of resolved on its own by 18 months, roughly,
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
which
Yeah.
can happen. You might not get medication or even seeking psychiatric help, and it might get
Mm.
better. But also
Mm.
it might not. There's a chance it can get worse. Generally
Yeah.
speaking, things tend to improve, but in case it's not getting better, or in case
Mm.
you feel like you're still affected, in case you start having feelings of harming yourself, you feel like now it's too much suffering, because it's understandable that if you're feeling so much suffering, at some point you'll feel like, but why am I even alive? So if you start
Mm.
making plans to now maybe just end it, maybe your baby is better off without you, kindly seek help. Or if you start having any unusual thoughts like feeling like your baby is evil. It's a bit unusual, but it happens where people think a baby is evil, they think there's something wrong with a baby, then kindly please seek help as well. All these things can be managed. So anyway, you get better by 18 months and then
Mm.
you're living your life happily until.
until last year. It's so weird to say last year in reference to 2024, but anyway,
Mm,
yeah. Until 2024. Um, so in I think actually when I went in to see the psychiatrist and I was asked when was the last time I felt okay. This was in October. I had last felt okay in July. So it had been maybe 3 months.
mm,
Um, yeah, so in around August, September, my husband started to have a bit of health issues. Um, and he was constantly in and out of hospital. So at first it just felt like, okay, you're not feeling well. I think, it may be best to see this doctor and the other one, like,
yeah,
just a one-off
yeah.
until like it just wasn't, he just wasn't getting better. So August ends, September begins, nothing. He's constantly going to different
Doctors and
doctors. It was one doctor after the other, and it got to a point where there were talks of um, doing an operation on him, and he was constantly in pain. I'm not at liberty to share his diagnosis, but
obviously. Mm,
yeah,
mm,
yeah, but he was constantly in pain. He was not eating. Um, like it was just a lot. He couldn't sleep because of the pain. He would wake up in the middle of the night and he's in so much pain, and we have to like rush to the hospital.
yeah.
So September, for the better part of September, that was like the routine. So in the middle of the night, I'm maybe trying to sleep and then I have to wake up, or I don't know about other people, but I'm sort of a light sleeper. So if I'm trying to sleep and there's someone next to me that's not sleeping, then it will be hard for me to sleep as well. So most of the time when he would be like tossing and turning, I would not be able to sleep.
Mm,
And then it was also starting to take a toll on me because um, I think it's a thing with men and like preferring to hear things from fellow men or something. I don't know. Or
mm,
probably feeling too strong or something. I don't know. So
yeah.
I would always just be like, why are you waiting for the pain to set in? Why don't you just take the painkiller anyway?
Mm,
So that by the time the pain comes, the
yeah.
painkiller is already in your system. And
Yeah.
but my husband is not big on medication. Like if there is a natural remedy to something, he would rather the natural remedy and not. And then also that speaks to my need to control things. And anyway, that's a whole other thing. So
Yeah.
I was frustrated about that, but then I also
Like
needed to understand
why can't he just do what you're telling him to do?
exactly.
You know best.
Being a
Yeah.
doctor.
Even though, like, you have this experience as well, eh? So anyway, that's what's frustrating you as well
It
because you
was
feel like
frustrating me.
he's unwell, but at the same time he's not listening to
He's
you.
exactly like, and then also I would just be thinking, why do you think they gave you this medication? Like they give you the
Mm,
medication for a reason.
mm,
Like they give you the painkillers to be used when you have pain
when you
or
have
if you
pain.
yes.
Mm,
um but anyway, so that kept adding to the frustration. Now remember, I'm barely sleeping. I have to support him. And then my son started school in September, at the beginning of September. And with school comes flus, coughs. My son is prone to tonsillitis, so he had like 2 episodes of tonsillitis within the same month. So on top of having to take care of his dad, I would have to like take care of him as well. And much as we have help, there's some things like when a child is sick, they kind of want to be with their mom. So
mm,
like I was the one that, had to like, I had to step up for my son as well. And then, support my husband. So there were
yeah.
days when I've spent the night managing the fevers,
Yeah.
my son's fevers. And then during the day, my husband is also unwell and we have to rush to the hospital. So I barely
Mm,
slept throughout the night. And then during the day, I have to like show up for my husband. I work remotely. So most days I would like have to like maybe call in sick, or thankfully that the my employer, like the team I'm on, people are quite
Yeah.
understanding. So like on days when I completely couldn't make it, then I would just let them know that I'm unable to make it. But most times, I think this also is a thing of, I don't know if it's Africans or Ugandans, or probably just me, of trying to overperform. So I would
Mm.
be trying to overperform as well as
Yeah.
an employee,
Yeah.
sorry. So I would be there trying to support my son, my husband, trying to like get as much work done as possible, because there is also that thing of, I want to show you that Banange, I'm a hard worker, no matter what is going on in my life,
Mm.
I'm a hard worker.
Yeah.
That kind of got not kind of that got me burnt out.
Yeah.
And like I was always feeling exhausted, always
Yeah.
feeling tired. Like I would sleep some on the nights when I would be able to sleep. I would sleep and wake up feeling like I spent the whole night over, I don't know, digging or something. Like I was
Mm.
physically exhausted, emotionally exhausted. And then like with kids, you have to like be on top of their medication. So you have to like keep telling them, you have to kind of sometimes force them to
Yeah.
take their medication. Then even now, my husband, I had to like keep reminding
As
him, by the
well.
way, you need. So it
Mm.
just felt like I had two children that I was taking care
Mm.
of. That of
Mm.
one could easily help himself and listen, but
Mm.
he's not. And then the other, I kind of have to help him.
Yeah.
So September ends. We got admitted for, I think there were 2 nights. My husband got admitted, and during this time, my son is in school. So he was admitted on Buganda Road, and so I would spend the night in hospital, and then because he needed me to be there, like
Yeah.
he needed
Yeah.
my help
Yeah.
physically. So I
Yeah.
would I would spend the day with him, then the night as well. So I'd just park, and then in the morning I'd leave hospital at 6, so I could be on time to come back and find my son as they're getting him ready for school. Then I would come, freshen up, take my son to school, then go to hospital. Then in the evening, thank goodness, my father-in-law would help us pick up my son from school.
Yeah.
So it was like that for like 3 days. And then, so of course, there's a way you just can't, okay, me, I just can't sleep in hospitals. Like it's so hard
Mm.
because somehow the night nurses are constantly opening the door.
Mm.
Somehow, like they're always checking
So
on you. They
busy.
always have to add which
Mm.
cannula and which medicine, and I don't know
Mm.
what. And then the hospital is by the roadside, so there's that,
Cards, yeah.
the lights in the corridor, like there's just so much going on that you can't exactly sleep well. So October begins, and it just felt like October. I like October because it's the month that all of us were born, like
Yeah.
my husband, myself, and my son. So I was
Mm.
excited about that. And this year I had told myself I was going to do a photo shoot, so I was excited about that. But then at some point I was thinking of not going through with it, like I didn't have the energy for it, but I went through with it. So my son's birthday happens, and after that, so his birthday was in the middle of the week, so we
Yeah.
celebrated him in the middle of the week. Then I had prepared like a celebration, a major celebration with like his cousins and friends over the weekend. So on the weekend comes, I go. I'm so excited. We go to the place we're going to celebrate from. We get there. My husband was not decided not to come because at that point he had restrictions with food. So, and most restaurants wouldn't be able to like um meet
Meet
his
the
food
needs,
needs.
yeah.
Yes, yes. So he opted not to come. And then so it was just me, my house help, my family, and my friends, my side of the family and my friends. But at that time, my son was unwell. He had gotten another round of tonsillitis.
Tonsillitis.
Yeah. And we're at the party, and then I could tell that he was picking up a temperature. So I forced him to take his painkiller. He didn't want it. He was throwing a tantrum, and I'm just like, I'm not take I didn't want to hear it. So I forced him to take the painkiller, and he throws up everything.
Mm.
And we're at a restaurant. Thank goodness it was a child friendly restaurant. So like there's so many kids, so many parents. So the judgment is also not as much. So he throws up. I am in my head, like my friends are there, my family, and like people are all looking at me like, how do we help? And even me, I don't know how to let them help. I'm just like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I got this. What? I hadn't carried a change of clothes. I think I had carried just a change of pants and not like a full outfit. He had
Mm.
thrown up on himself. Like it was a lot. And I'm just in that moment, I kind of zoned out. And I think I was operating on like muscle memory. So that was the first kind of red flag for me. Like I was just like, okay, what just happened? Later, I was just like, what just happened? And then like after we got things in order, thankfully a friend of mine had one of the gifts that
Yeah.
she had brought for him was a pair of clothes. So we changed him into that, and then the party went on. So most of my friends are not parents, and I just had this thing of nobody gets it. There were
Yeah.
like one or two people in the crowd who I feel like would get it, but like I also don't want to burden anybody with my child. I don't know. It just felt like at
Mm.
that time asking for help felt like burdening other people. Also, I forgot to mention, um, my parents-in-law are quite involved. So whenever during that time, since my husband was constantly unwell, they offered to have my son be with them for like
Yeah.
I think it was like a week, and then also it was during his half term. So during his half term break, they were like, just bring him and
Yeah.
let him stay with us. So even the birthday, we like just went, picked him up.
Picked
So for the
him.
birthday celebration, we had taken him like on a Friday. So Sunday came, we went, picked him up, and then we was supposed to take him back to the birthday. It happens,
Yeah.
it ends. Yeah, life goes on. Now during the week that followed, I started noticing that I was constantly anxious
Yeah.
about everything. Like whenever I would receive a phone call from my mother-in-law, I would just be thinking, what is going like now what? And then when I would receive a phone call from my husband, again, I would feel like, oh my God, now what? So at this point, my husband had gotten some medication that was working. He had gone to
Mm.
another doctor,
Place.
and
Mm.
their treatment plan was sort of working,
Mm.
kind of getting better, but he had lost a lot of weight. He still had food restrictions. So because of the food restrictions, I had to be up early and like make pack for him his
Oh.
breakfast and lunch.
Mm.
So that also like oh my God, I was really anxious about everything. Like I was anxious about the time I would have to wake up
Yeah.
because I needed to be up early enough to prepare whatever it is he was going to pack,
Yeah.
and also make sure that my son, everything is ready and prepared for him, because I was the one taking my son to school. So
Yeah.
I would finish with my husband's things, and then before I know it, it's almost 8, and now we have to go to school. And then I would drop off my son, come back. My work day starts at 10 a.m., but between 8:30 and 10, I would still not be able to sleep because I don't know, like I don't know how to call it, but I would just not be able to sleep. I was kind
Were
of
you
on edge
anxious?
all the time. Yes,
Mm.
I
And
think
can
so.
you just describe for us what it felt like being anxious? What does that feel like for you, like when you would get a phone call and
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
yeah.
So for me, it just felt like I was waiting for the worst thing to happen. Um, and my mind was always in overdrive. So I would catastrophize, and
Mm.
like even if so for example, maybe I'm feeling sleepy because I had a long night and I need to take a nap. I'm not able to take the nap because I feel like, oh my God, I'm not delivering. Like
You
my
might
employer expects me
oversleep.
to be working right now.
Mm,
Yes. Not even oversleep. My employer
mm,
expects me to be working right now, but then now me, I want to take a nap. So,
mm,
like, what am I doing? And then we have timesheets at work. So I'd be like, now what am I going to put in my timesheet at the end of this period? And then,
mm.
like, I was constantly thinking, I was like 5 or 10 steps
Steps
ahead and
ahead.
thinking, yes, and thinking about like all these things. And then I'm like, now what if I sleep off and they call me and I don't hear the phone? And then
Mm,
maybe something they need me urgently. Or what if I sleep and someone needs me to respond to an email right now, and I'm like, it was one thing after the other. Like there was
mm,
no scenario in my mind where I would, let's say, take a nap and
mm,
nothing changes. Like it just felt like if I take a nap, the worst is going to happen. Like my
mm,
actions are going to lead to the worst thing happening.
mm.
Yeah, yeah. So even like at night, sleeping, it was hard for me to sleep because I would feel like, okay, now if I sleep, my husband is going to now need my help because he'll be in
Yeah,
pain, and then
yeah,
I'll be sleeping, and then I won't be
yeah,
able to hear him, and then I'll hear him too late, and then it'll be
yeah.
too
So
late to get to the hospital. Like
that
it,
is
it was,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You have really described anxiety, and if you haven't watched Inside Out 2, watch it because it's an animation, but it's about feelings and anxiety comes. Anxiety is a new emotion that comes in, and anxiety is all about the future. You start looking at the future. It's a future emotion, like thinking of, like you said, 10 steps ahead, but then negatively. 10 steps, like
Yes,
of all the wrong things that could happen. So it's potentially a useful thing in some amounts because it's trying to protect yourself. Like if you reach a road, there's some anxiety, some level of anxiety of you have to predict that a car might come, so I have to stop, look right, look left, and then I go. But then if you start worrying so much that what if instead I reach the road, what if a car comes out of the blue, what if they come and knock me, and then you don't even leave your house? So
yes.
it's all anxiety, but maybe it's not proportional. So at some point, your anxiety was so much. Was it all in your head, or did you have any physical symptoms as well?
I think the physical symptoms are mostly that sleeping. Um,
Mm,
yeah, so
you couldn't
this was,
sleep.
I
Mm,
couldn't sleep. Like it was so hard for me to sleep. Even during the day, it was so hard for me to like take a nap. And then the when I at the point when I realized that I needed to seek help, I had not slept in like 2 days.
mm,
And in those 2 days, okay, I had not intentionally slept in like 2 days. So I would like sometimes catch myself dozing off, or snap out of a quick nap, which would be like 5 minutes. And
mm,
then it would just feel like one, I was constantly sad. So it would just feel like, okay, I had this like brief moment of quote unquote peace, and yeah, quote unquote peace. And now I am back to like the reality of my life, which is sad, which is, it just felt like there was a dark cloud over me. Like, okay, now
mm.
I'm back to this reality of my husband is unwell, my child could get sick anytime soon because when they've just started school, they will get flu. And people used to say that, like, oh, when they've just started school, the first year or the first term,
Yeah.
just be ready for the flu. So when he would get flu, I'd be thinking, oh my God, tonsillitis. Like, it was, yeah. So it just felt like I was constantly worried, constantly sad. It There was nothing exciting about my life. There was nothing exciting about getting out of bed because getting out of bed meant all these responsibilities on me. It meant showing up for these people who, like, I have no choice but show up for them. Like, they need me in this moment. My husband needs me. My child needs me. My house help needs me. My employer needs me to show up so I can get paid. Like it just felt like all these people need me. I have to find a way of showing up one way or the other. But like I just need a break.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't have any suicidal thoughts because
Mm,
I've had a constant fear of death growing up,
mm,
but I feel like I just needed a pause button, like maybe for somebody to give me permission to like
mm.
take a break. Or
From your
I was
life.
Yes, from my exactly. Like for somebody to like put me out of the equation and put me somewhere like in
Yeah,
a separate bubble where I
yeah,
can just be me without
yeah,
worrying about anything
yeah.
or anyone or yeah. So
Mm,
yeah, I think that was the wake up call for me,
for
like
me. When you
that
started having those,
feeling. Yes, yes, yes.
so I think it's important you mentioned you didn't have suicide thoughts, but I think anyone watching can see how obviously the next thing is, why should you even be here? You know? You start to fantasize even. They are called suicidal fantasies, where you start wishing,
Mhm,
oh, I wish this could happen to me and I just stop existing because the current
mhm,
reality is all too much. But also, I feel like you've described for us the journey of burnout to depression and anxiety. Because let's first start from the depression. Because you see, you explained about anxiety. You're worried, you're anxious, you're looking at the future and all negative things. Obviously, that's going to make you sad because then you're so sad. And so that's why depression usually goes together hand in hand with anxiety because you're so future
mhm,
oriented, but worst case
mhm,
scenarios, having those thoughts. And then also when you have those thoughts in your mind a lot, like you start imagining, what if this happens? What if that happens? It becomes like a movie in your head, but a bad movie. And you keep watching the same movie over and over again. You start ruminating. It's called ruminating, where you
mhm,
sit and you think of the thoughts, of the thoughts, and it just makes you even more and more sadder. So
mhm,
that's how depression and anxiety go together. But also, before
mhm,
you reach that point, it
mhm.
sounds like you yourself was burnt out. Burnout generally is originally from occupational stuff like workplace things, which is where someone's resources have been exhausted. Like you give a person too much work. Once the work is more than the resources, they are burnt out. They
Yeah,
can no longer cope
yeah,
with all the work in
yeah,
work. But that also happens in life. Now, for you in your scenario, honestly, you are needed everywhere, all the resources everywhere. You're looking after everyone, plus also at work. It's like,
yeah,
where are you getting,
yeah.
where are you getting
There's no
the
winning.
resources? There was nothing left. And so
Yeah.
that now led to the anxiety, depression. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, I feel like you've explained it really well because obviously you lived it.
Mm.
And so then what happened? So what was the moment in which you now said, let me look for help, and then you started looking at options? Can you take us through
Yeah.
how you decided where?
Um,
Mm,
where to go? So, actually, I remember on the 15th because I went in to see the psychiatrist on the 17th. So on the 15th, I remember sending you a DM because I had tried to schedule a consultation call,
yeah,
but I think there was something about the
yeah,
the website, and I think
yeah.
that's when I remember seeing something about, I think you had posted that you were not able to, like, you were
See
also like
people.
very busy. Yes, you were not able to see
Yeah,
people. Why I had thought about you, in case anyone
yeah,
is watching and wondering, is because I had been consulting you in
yeah,
2023, so it just felt like
yeah.
that
We have a previous
obvious thing.
relationship.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I'm sorry I can't take you out.
um
Sorry. Not for a while yet, but you can sign up to my email
yes.
list when you find out in future. Yeah. So
Yeah.
sorry at the time I wasn't available.
No, no,
Uh,
no, no, no. It's okay. And then you gave me options.
mm,
I still tried to like check out those other options, but I don't know. I wasn't convinced. I think I don't know. I just wasn't convinced by those other options. I was so I had been to safe places
mm,
earlier in 2024, I think.
mm,
But it was for like a family member. So it was one of those things where a family member needs therapy. I took them there, like they needed physical therapy. So I took them, and then I also had a chat with the therapist, and yeah, like that was really it. So I thought about it and I was like, you know what, let me go and talk to somebody.
where is safe
So
places?
safe places is in Chambogo.
Mm,
Um it's in Chambogo. Where, like, what's that place?
okay.
Yes, yes, yes,
Mm,
yes.
yeah, first
Around the
technology.
passport office,
Mm,
somewhere
mm,
near there.
Mm.
So I go and I'm just like, I need to talk to somebody. Like I knew in that moment that I needed to talk to somebody because I was just actually to backtrack a bit. So on the 15th, I reached out to you. On the 16th, I talked to my supervisor about how I was feeling. So the thing with and I think this speaks into that kind of employers we have. It my team, my supervisor, and like generally the people on that the team members, my team members, are very emotionally aware people and emotionally intelligent. And to take you back a bit, even when we were in hospital, there was never a need. Like they would keep telling me, you don't have to, like, we don't expect you to be online right now. We know that, even if you're not in hospital, you need to rest. Like we know, like you don't have to, like all this can wait. Don't feel pressured to try and like show up for work or whatever. Like just take the day off if you need to. You don't even have to give any explanations. And that had failed to register in my brain because, again,
Mm.
should I say I'm an overperformer? I want to show you that, yes, I
Mm.
can do it amidst all
Yeah.
this. Like, I
Yeah.
am your star employee.
Yeah.
I am reliable like that. Like, no matter what's
Mm.
going on in my life, I am going to like go out of my way to show up for the team. But like nobody was expecting that from me. And I
Yeah.
remember there was a day we were in hospital and I joined a team meeting and everyone was just like
Yeah, what's
why,
going on?
yes, what's going on? And I remember giving them the excuse that I was looking for a sense of normalcy outside of
Mm.
everything that was going on, and perhaps I was,
Yeah.
but I definitely needed the break. I needed to
Yeah.
rest.
In the moment, you couldn't see what was going on for yourself. Like for you from that, you couldn't see what everyone else could see, that you're giving the
Yes,
most to everyone. And
yes,
what about
yes.
you? Who's looking out for
Exactly.
you? Mm.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was just I was constantly giving. So this time on the 16th, I talked to my supervisor and I break down like I was imagine. So I talked to her on the 16th. I had planned to take time off on the 31st of that month. So on the 16th, I schedule a call with her. I'm just like, I'm not feeling like my best self. The plan was to tell her I wasn't feeling like, myself. And I was hoping that we would maybe bring my leave forward or take, I think that was either a Wednesday or a Tuesday, like take the rest of the week off and then get back in office the following week and then take my time off starting the 31st for
Mm.
the 1 week. So I start the call and I just break down. I couldn't talk. Like the moment I said I wasn't feeling
Yeah.
well, I don't even know where the tears came from. I was just like, oh my God, like I was feeling so, now I was in my head, oh my God, what is she going to think? Does she think
Yeah.
I'm pretending? Does she think I've planned
Mm.
this? Does she think, and like, I think
Like
she
that,
could
you
kind of,
just continued.
yes, yes, yes. And I think she could tell that, I was not okay. So she was just
Yeah.
like, no, 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 no. Um, in case you want to, like, she was like, in case you can't talk, you can just type everything out that you want to say via Teams. We can end the call here. Like she just created a safe space for me.
Yeah.
So eventually I explained to her and I was just like, I don't feel okay. What? Then she says, you know what, it's okay. So at work we have a mental health helpline,
Mm.
which yeah, we have a mental health helpline. I had tried to reach out to that helpline, but they took a bit of time to get back to me. So
Mm.
I now started explaining. I tried to reach out to these guys, but and like she was just like, you don't need to explain yourself.
Mm.
Like it's okay to feel the way you're feeling. It's okay,
Mm.
like don't feel the need to explain. You don't have to tell me anything that you feel I'm not any information that you feel I'm not privy to. Like in case you need
Mm.
like it's okay. What can I do to help? So I tell her, I think I'm going to schedule, I'm going to go see a doctor tomorrow and, get checked out just to be sure about everything and whatnot.
Yeah.
So the following day in the morning, she was like, yeah, it's okay. Whatever you need, just let us know. So the following day, I go to hospital to safe places,
Yeah.
and thankfully there was a psychiatrist in that day.
Mm.
No, 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 no. The psychiatrist came in on the 17th. So on the 16th is when I went to see a therapist. On the 15th is when I reached out to you and also talked to my supervisor.
Yeah.
So on the 16th, when I go in to see the therapist, she she was like, I'm not even going to make you take is it called GAD?
I
Like
don't know.
there's a certain form for anxiety and depression and I don't know what.
Oh, right. It's not going
Um
to take you like maybe
a
like there
questionnaire.
there are checklists, yeah, questionnaires for different
Yes, yes,
conditions. Mm.
exactly. She was like, we're not even going to do that because everything that you're saying, it's pretty clear that,
Yeah.
you are
Yeah.
depressed and
Yeah.
you're severely depressed.
Yeah.
You have a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
So the psychiatrist was coming in the following day. She's like, I'm urging you to come in tomorrow, see the psychiatrist,
Yeah.
because for her, she's I think,
Psychologist, probably.
yes,
Mm.
psychologist.
Mm.
So the following day, I go in to see the psychiatrist, and each time I would start talking, I would just break down. So I went in to see the psychiatrist, and I was just like, "Do I have to repeat myself?" And he's like, "Yes."
Mm. Yeah.
And I was just like, "Not again." Anyway, so I
Mm.
explained everything, how I was feeling, and you know, and he he said what he said was, "I'm putting you off work effective immediately." Um, Starting today, actually, this
Mm.
moment.
Mm.
Yeah, for the next minimum 2 weeks,
Mm.
take time off. So I was given, remember, I was not sleeping, so I was given
Yeah.
a sleeping aid. I was put on the antidepressants, um, and I had to go back in. I think within that time, I had to go back in every week, just to
Mm.
be for them to monitor
And see
how
what's
I
going
was.
on.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, what was going on. And yeah, at least so first of all, it was so hard for me to rest.
Mm. Couldn't rest.
I just felt like what it just felt like I was doing something wrong.
Mm.
But at least the sleeping aids that I was given, the sleeping aid I was given was helping me kind of have no choice but to sleep.
Yes.
And then, the day that I saw the psychiatrist, when I got back home, I my supervisor had actually already like put this in motion. She had already scheduled a call for us to have like a meeting where the rest of the team covers for me.
Mm.
And then like for me to take time off, like whether the
Yeah.
psychiatrist had given it to me or not, I was
Yeah.
going to definitely take time off.
Yeah.
So we had a call, and she was just like, whether they had given you the time off or not, we
Yeah.
had discussed it, and we felt it necessary for you to take the time off. So I took those 2 weeks and then the
Mm.
extra week. And during that time, I remember during that coverage meeting, like they just kept reminding me that it's okay, like it's okay for me to be taking time off. I didn't have to worry about all this. There were like, like there were tasks which I was saying, okay, this is a bit urgent, this is a bit urgent,
Mm.
and they were just like, it's okay, and so will take it up, so and so will take it up, this can
Mm.
wait, the other can wait until you're back. Like everyone was, it just felt like a big group hug, like
Yeah.
everyone was
They were so
very,
compassionate.
yes, yes, and like
Mm.
everyone was there to help. And I
Mm.
remember there was, right before that call, I was supposed to have, I think, a meeting with someone, and I had to cancel it, like someone on the team. And I told her,
Mm.
oh, I'm so sorry, I'm not able to make the meeting. She was like, no, 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 it's okay. Like it was one of those things of,
Mm.
if you can't make something, it's fine. Like it's not the end of the
Mm.
world. So I took the time off, and during that time, I I decided to be selfish with
Mm.
my time. Thankfully, my husband was starting to feel better.
Feel
We got
better.
a proper diagnosis
Mm.
um, a few days into my time off. So at
Mm.
least he was on medication, and yeah, like it just felt. I think also the antidepressants, the psychiatrist said something about them, I think coming menopause. I don't know. Something about
They do
them
help
putting
with
me at
anxiety
rest.
as well. The antidepressants are what we use for depression and anxiety, both. Mm.
Yes,
Mm.
yes, yes. So like I was not catastrophizing as
Mm.
much.
Mm.
I was barely catastrophizing. I was
Mm.
just living
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
So that kind of also encouraged me to continue taking the medication. I got off
Mm.
the sleeping aid after like 2 or 3 days,
Mm. For
mostly
short-term
because
use.
yes, I
Mm.
was feeling better. I felt like I didn't need it anymore. I think
Mm.
because of the antidepressants, I was now able to sleep and not
Yeah.
overthink and
Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, I continued, like I've continued with therapy. I've continued with the medication. Like I feel like my quality of life has
Has
been a
improved.
lot better. Yes, it has
Mm.
improved ever since I sought help, and
Mm.
now it's easier for me to ask for help. If I feel like I can't do something, then I will just express that I am not able to do this, or be it me as a mom, me as a wife, me as an employee, me as an employer. If I'm not able to like do something, then I will express until whoever whoever it concerns, that I'm not
Mm.
able to like come through for them in that regard without feeling guilty, or without like, yes, I'll feel like, okay, perhaps I could have helped, but I
Mm.
can't. Like, what do you want me to do?
Mm.
Even me, I can't.
Mm.
Yeah, so, and that's the other thing that the psychiatrist had said. He said I would still feel my feelings, but it would not be in
As intense.
extremes. Yes, like
Yeah.
I would just feel them at the level that I'm supposed to like feel them or something. Yeah, so,
Did you
yeah.
notice side effects? Because that sounds also like a potential side effect. One of
Mhm.
them, sometimes it can numb feelings and people feel numb, whereby it's too much and now they completely can't feel. That can also happen. Mm.
I didn't have any side effects that I can. Maybe
Mm.
I didn't notice, but
Mm.
I was keen on because I was worried about that, like feeling numb, feeling like I can't feel like, maybe I can't feel like I love my child, or I can't feel like or
Mm.
maybe something happens and I can't worry.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I was keen on like how I was feeling in
Yeah.
certain moments. And I
Yeah.
feel like I was feeling everything that I needed to feel,
Mm.
but
Mm.
reasonably. Yeah, I was
Mm.
not in my mind was not in overdrive. I was not
Mm.
catastrophizing. I was not like making something small into a whole
Yeah.
mountain. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, the sleep deprivation, I think, is a big one because sleep deprivation, if you remember in the conversation earlier, at some point you are even having like hallucinations, postpartum, and sleep
Mhm.
deprivation will induce hallucinations in anyone. If they take you, if they stop you from sleeping for long enough, it's even used as a method of torture in some places. Yeah, they'll
Mhm.
deprive you of your sleep. So I think they'll do things such that you cannot sleep. So being in that state of not sleeping, it's so bad. And so when your
Yeah.
sleep starts getting affected, I think we mentioned it also in DK's video. I did a video with DK about her own mental health experience, and she also
Mhm.
similarly struggled with sleep at the
Mhm.
most critical point where it's all falling apart, usually the
Mhm.
sleep. Um, but also, I love that the way your recovery happened is similar to how your becoming unwell happened, in that it was multifactorial. It wasn't
Yes.
one single thing. And that's how it is with mental health, is that a lot of times we use a model called biopsychosocial. So the biological part of it could be, let's say, in terms of management, biologically, we give you antidepressants, so that's medication. But
Mhm.
also, psychologically, you're having talking therapy, like you're getting the standard, gold standard. But also socially, there are social factors that are causing you stress that it doesn't matter how many antidepressants we give you if some major social thing is happening. Maybe you're losing your house, maybe you're homeless, it
Yeah.
won't help if that thing is not fixed with anxiety and depression. So your husband also
Mm.
started getting better. And
Yes.
then like
Yes.
everything just came together perfectly
Yes. Yes.
to now have you feeling better. Yeah.
Yeah. And I should also say, I feel like it also took away the need to control everything. I
Mm,
think I came to the realization that also with the talking therapy, I came to the realization that I can't control everything and everyone. Like my husband is an adult of sound mind. And I remember the therapist saying, like you don't want he's the patient here, you're not the patient. So he's feeling everything firsthand before you even feel it. So you can't want to recover more than he does.
yes.
Like
You
however much you
can't.
think you want him to
Yes.
to get better, he wants
Yeah.
it more than you do. So like
Yeah.
if he says something is not going to work, then like perhaps like he has his reasons. And even as a person, like you have a third sense, is it a third sense, fifth sense,
Mm,
whatever, that
mm,
thing, like where maybe in your gut you feel like if I take this
yes.
medication something is going
Yes.
to happen. So
Yes.
like it's kind of not up to me for him to get better. Like yeah,
You
if he
can't
does
live
what
his life for him.
for him, exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's why it's important also consider at the time, even before all this happened, there are certain tendencies that maybe you had. For instance, I feel like it's very common for a lot of us, especially women generally, of
Mm.
wanting to hold the world on our heads. There's a Greek god, I've forgotten. This was told to me by a client who described herself as that she is that Greek god who is the, I'll put a screenshot, a picture here
Mm.
of,
Mm.
there's a Greek god who is holding the world on his head. And so feeling like everything, you want to do everything. And DK also mentioned that in her video, she also
Yeah.
feels that she is the one in charge of everything. And actually, you find that, it's not that serious. The world will move on. People can actually manage it. We can't want change more than them. Like, let's say if your partner has some things, which I think everyone has something where their partner, I wish you could just do this. We can't want it
Yeah.
more than them. You can't live someone else's
Mm.
life more than them. So that puts you at risk of depression and anxiety because
Mm.
of that wanting to control things or
Mm.
wanting to do everything for everyone, wanting to be the best in everything. And there's a book I read I would highly recommend. It's
Mm.
called When the Body Says No.
Mm.
So this is a book by Dr. Gabo Mate. He is one of those famous doctors you see around. He's done all kinds of talks and things, and he's the one who talks about how women, generally women, we usually are the ones who are doing everything for everyone, and we don't say no, but eventually our body says no. That's why we have
Mm.
higher risk. Like your body will give you a reason. Stop it. You see how your body gave you a reason as well. It's like stop it. You will not say no. But
Yeah.
then my body, I'll say no for you. Now you can't sleep. Or now, say stop it.
Yes.
So it can appear in like we have high risk of anxiety, depression, but then also we have high risk of autoimmune diseases. So you get some disease, and the disease puts you down, and yeah, your body
Mm.
has says, no, I will not do
Mm.
anything more for everyone else.
Mm.
So I
Yeah.
would recommend that we all go and read it. I'm going to go and reread it actually, because I
Mm.
also need the reminder. I can't do
Yes.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not
Yeah, so
good.
you're not good. So, in that period of time when when you had got this diagnosis, you're definitely
Mm.
depressed, you're taking a break from things. Did you share with your family, like, and how did your friends and how did they take it? Yeah.
So, about that. So remember, I told you I self-diagnosed the postpartum depression,
Yeah.
and I remember with my family, um, like not my immediate family of my husband and my child, but like my now extended family, or my side of
Mm,
the family.
yeah.
There were people who were kind of like they still have that thing of, like, what do you mean you're depressed? What do you mean?
Yeah.
And then
There's a
like
lack of
even later,
understanding. Mm.
yes, and then even later when I would talk about it, it would be, I don't want to say I laugh at something to laugh at, but like something to joke about. Of yeah, twali tukulaba. We could see that, you are clearly you are depressed. Like with this thing of um maybe I don't know, like there was a certain condescending thing and
Mm,
tone about how they would talk about it.
yeah.
So when I found out, I told my husband, but I feel like my husband did not have the capacity either to like deal with that. He could only help as much as he could, as far as he could. Like there was not much he was going to do for me in that
Mm,
moment.
mm,
So I told him, and I told him I was
mm,
told to rest. I think I was still having that thing of he's having things rougher than I am, and I'm supposed to support him. But like
but
I was having a hard
still.
time reconciling the fact that like much as he's having things rough, even me, I'm not okay. Like me being able to support him, like I need to feel my cup before I can feel his. So I
Mm,
and then for my friends, I told a couple of friends, but it wasn't something that I told them immediately. So remember, I was not working. So most of my friends know that during the day I'm unavailable, or like they'll call me and I won't pick up. But during that time, like they would call me and I would pick up. I would send messages and I would respond immediately. So they would be like, how come, these
mm,
days you have time? So I would tell
mm,
just like once in a while, I would tell them like at different times, all this happened. So I had taken a picture of the diagnose of that document. So I'll just
mm,
send them and they'd be like, oh, how are you? How are you feeling? How
yeah,
can we support you? So my friends are
yeah.
very extremely supportive.
Mm,
And I didn't hide anything from them. Like I told
mm,
them about the time off. I told them like if I couldn't make it to something, I would
mm,
let them know that I'm not able to make it. I didn't tell all of my friends, but it's also
yeah.
because I've found that I have people that I talk to constantly. So those are the ones that I
Mm,
told, you know. And then there are some
mm,
others who probably found out from Instagram. Was it last
mm,
week when I shared?
mm, mm,
So yeah, it was one of those things where if
mm,
kind of if you know, you know, but I
yeah,
wasn't like holding back from my friends or anything.
yeah.
It was just one of those things of okay, we talk often, so you would
Mm,
you would get it. Like they kind of had also gotten also kind of knew about like my husband's sickness.
mm.
Yeah, yeah,
But also what you mentioned, I think brings out a lot about stigma and how physical health is treated different from mental health. So for instance, if you have gotten sick note, you're off, you've been given a sick note, stop working, you're unwell. If you had broken your leg, no one would be giving you now other work.
that's
Well,
true.
you know, and also you also justifying it also to yourself, I think it's a bit of that internalized because of the society we live in. Just we've internalized it that actually it's not as serious, and yet it is. It's even more serious in my opinion because it's more painful, I think, than physical pain. If you've had
Yeah.
any sort of mental pain or suffering, you that's how people self-harm. Some people self-harm, so they'll cut
Mhm.
their actual, like they'll cut maybe their skin or something
Kind of get the
because
pain
the
out.
because the emotional pain is so much, you'd rather feel physical pain.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so I think that's something worth mentioning. And also we've talked about how women we want to put the whole world on our shoulders, but also it's not all our fault. Of course, we can do our best, but also the society, the way the whole world will be, is that people around are not sometimes are not as supportive. So it's not all
That's
about us,
true.
but you can try, everyone, you try your best.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so now knowing that what you know now, if there's someone out there who happens to be in a similar situation, how would you advise them? What do you wish you knew?
Then that I know
Mm,
now.
yes.
Um, One, it's okay to ask for help. You're not
Mm,
God. You're not
mm,
what's it called? No all be all, do all be all, whatever. Um, like you can't pour from, and I feel like we use this line a lot. You can't pour from an empty cup until you're pouring from the empty cup. Yeah, so
yeah.
I feel like I'm the one that's constantly telling my friends, oh, you can't pour from an empty cup. You need to take time off. You need to rest. But then when it comes to me now being the
Yeah.
one to not pour from the empty cup, yeah,
You're
somehow,
busy pouring.
yeah, I'm busy pouring, pouring air. Yeah? I'm
You
about to
started
pour
pour
the
you
cup
poured
itself.
yourself out. You're pouring yourself out. Yeah.
The cup was about to go with that. Anyway,
Mm.
yeah, so I would say ask for help, even if everybody else makes it seem like, oh, you're asking for too much, or like even if people make it seem like how like we're all strong. You're supposed to be strong. You're supposed to be, you're a mom, like people have this thing of moms somehow as superheroes. You're supposed to like conquer it all. Be a mom, be a wife,
Mm.
or even if you're not a wife, be an employer. First of all, these employees of ours can be something else as well. Like
Mm.
you're pouring into that. Your family needs you, your extended family needs you, like everyone needs you. So like you're also human. You're not a superhero. You're not like even superheroes are, what's the word? They're not real. Like that. It's fantasy. Like they're not real. So you can't possibly be a superhero. You can't be superwoman or superman. So ask for that help, even if, especially if you have people who are willing to help you. If you have an understanding employer, definitely ask for the time off. There's no reward for carrying forward leave days. There's no reward
Mm.
for not taking your leave. Like it's given to you for a reason. You have
Yeah.
sick days for a reason. Like that company, even okay, maybe this may not apply to startups and people who start their own thing,
Yeah.
sole proprietorships. But like if you're working under somebody, just like
Yeah.
you are employed, somebody else can be brought in. You get
Yeah.
like there's a reason why they hire people for maternity leave. So
Yeah.
just like somebody else might need maternity leave, even you need sick leave because you're not okay, you're not mentally okay. So if you have the opportunity, if you have the chance to take time off work, please do take it. Because at the end of the day, if you force yourself to like now work, now you're going to find yourself making mistakes, you're going to
Yeah.
find yourself costing other people time and other resources. Like you're not going to show up as your best self. You're not going to be performing at 100. And like, who is that helping? I mean, you want to be a top
Mm.
performer, but you're not
Yeah.
performing at 100 anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you
Exactly.
can, yeah, if you can take time off, please take time off. There's no reward in suffering. So if you have family that you can call on to, if you have, if even if you don't have family, but like if you can pay for help,
Yeah.
um, I have a friend who already made up their mind to like have a night nurse to come help them during their postpartum period. If you can
Mm.
afford it, definitely. Like
Yeah.
if you can afford to have somebody come in and do take some of this burden away from you,
Away. Yeah.
then yeah, like take up that opportunity, use that chance. I mean, we are working for a reason. We are working so that we are able to afford certain things. So if you're not
Yeah.
able to like, if you're now working and you're not affording yourself those things, then what
What's
are you
that
working for
point?
anyway? Yes, what's the
Mm.
point? And then like I think even people who are like not in employment, or like you can be depressed for other things, not just
Yeah.
family. You may be single, child free, no
Yeah.
unemployed, but you're depressed, and it's okay. Like it's okay for you to be depressed. It's okay. It's not okay for you to depress, but it's no, quote
It
unquote, normal.
happens.
Yes, it
Yeah.
happens. Yes, it
It
happens.
happens. Even
It
children can be
happens.
depressed. Mm.
Exactly.
Where you
Exactly.
would think
So
they have
if
no reason.
exactly like,
Don't
oh,
have to have a
you don't
reason.
need you exactly like you don't have to have a reason. You can be depressed because of anything,
Mm.
and don't let anybody make you feel like your emotions are not valid,
Mm.
because how you feel is valid. I keep hearing people saying, making statements like, oh, now you, maybe these ones are rich kids. What now? What problems do you have? But
Mm.
they do have problems. Or you find that somebody has like five children and someone else is looking for a child, and they're like, you should be grateful you have five. There are people who don't have, but me
Mm.
who has five, I also have my troubles. I also
Mm.
have my problems. Like just because somebody else doesn't have does not invalidate how I feel and my emotions. So I feel like seek therapy. I remember taking screenshots of there was a time, sometime, I think when I had just gotten pregnant, someone had shared screenshots of like therapists who are free and or some who are affordable.
I
And I
think
remember taking screenshots and I
mm,
looked for those screenshots. Oh my God, like during this time when I
mm,
needed, I looked for them. And
mm,
eventually, when I found them, Safe Places was among. And I was like, okay, let me go. And at Safe Places, by the way, a session is 70,000.
mm,
Um, and thankfully, my insurance covers it. So
yeah,
if you're in Uganda and you have Liberty or Sanlam or Prudential,
yeah,
um, Safe Places covers that. So in case you can't afford to pay cash, but you
yeah.
can use your
Use
insurance. And also
insurance.
there are hospitals. Like in hospitals, there are
Mm,
psychiatrists who you
yeah,
can go and see. So I feel
yeah,
like it's important to seek help, both professional and like just social
yeah.
support, basically. Yeah, and I'd
Um,
also say don't not to
mm,
stick around people that make you feel bad for how you're feeling or feel worse than
yes,
you're already feeling.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. Just and then you're stuck trying to justify how you feel, and then now like you're in a loop. They're saying no, for you don't know anything. Then you're like, no, but I feel
Mm,
like this. Then like if you can take yourself out of certain situations, please.
yeah, people can follow you as well. And I was going to say where they can find you on
Yes.
Instagram. But before that, I was going to say that you don't even have to say a psychiatrist. You can say a general doctor as well. So for instance, I think in Uganda, we have obviously psychiatrists, but also in a private sector, it's easier to see specialists. But like in the UK, we psychiatrists only see people who have severe mental illness. So it will be
Mm.
managed by a GP. So the way your situation was, probably you wouldn't even get to see a psychiatrist. The GP can manage, and they also they also do psychiatry in medical school. They do a placement, unless they themselves, for whatever reason, they say they're not comfortable with it. But
Mm.
because also there's a lot of stigma for psychiatrists. Um, it's part of the mental health
Mm.
stigma. They don't even want to say, they don't want to be seen with you in public. Wanange. So
And yet you're
if
like
we
the saviors in the field, in the
so
mental health space.
so that means that if you're feeling like that, it's I we know it's not your fault. It's not you who caused all the stigma anyway. You found the problems there. You can also see a general doctor and just explain to them, and hopefully they're understanding and they can at least for a start, because most things they should be able to do initial things, just prescribing antidepressants or then referring for talk therapy. Where can people find you if they would like to maybe follow more of everything what you're sharing? I love your stories and also all your sharings on Instagram. I first started following you because I saw you posting about chogero for your baby, and I was at a point in my life where I still am. It's a continuous process of decolonizing my
Mm.
mind and learning
Mm.
more about all these kind of things. And I had also, I think, got chogero from Uganda, but I wasn't pretty sure about it. So you always share very helpful things. Um,
Thank you.
for moms and women in general. Yeah, where can they
Mm.
find you?
You can find me on Instagram at
Mm,
Joanna N.
mm.
I share
I'll put a
content
picture.
on,
Mm,
yes, I share content on motherhood, work-life harmony, because I don't think there's such a thing as work-life balance, but
mm.
like work-life harmony, lifestyle, just general things. Every now and then I will talk about something that might spark a conversation or two, but yeah, I would like to believe that I share very helpful information on my
Yes,
platform.
yes, you
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Thank you again. Thanks for
Thank
coming.
you for
Is there
having
anything
me.
else that you have for the people? No.
No,
So thank you
no,
again.
thank you.
And if you haven't watched the video with DK, I'll link it here so you can go check that out and see you in our next video. Bye.